And now they have penalizing violators of initiative with loss of tax-exempt status and licenses to operate health insurance plans, pharmacies, and clinics, and permanently authorizing medical Rx in state law. What the hell? That seems very severe. They're like, oh, if you don't give all of your money, basically, back to the patients, you're not allowed to operate health insurance plans, pharmacies, and clinics. What? Okay, that seems a little crazy. So then you look into it a little bit more, and it's like, okay. Who supports, right? Yes, and 34 patients now, which is sponsored by the California Apartment Association. What? Excuse me? Why is this supported by the California Apartment Association? That's the first clue that something fishy's going on. So this election cycle, November 5th, we're gonna be using Ballotpedia. Okay, Ballotpedia is one of my favorite ways of going through stuff because they give you a breakdown of the opposition and the support, and they give you basically the arguments that have been put forth, and that's a really good way of looking at it because a lot, and this is something that people know, and it's one of the reasons people feel so discouraged to even read a lot of these ballot measures is that they're known to be written in a convoluted way. So especially the ones that have hidden stuff in them that is less than ideal. They're known to be written in a convoluted way that most people are gonna lose interest halfway through and not want to read the whole thing. Very similarly to the trick that Silicon Valley companies use with their websites and the apps, right? All those terms and conditions that are just written in such a way that you're not going to read it. And so, it is very nice to have breakdowns. And then you can read it once you find things that may not make sense, or things that... But then you have a reason to read it. You know what I mean? You have a goal. You're not just reading it and being freaking caught up in the jargon of it all. So, ballot Proposition 2. Public education facilities bond measure. All right? So... basically, vote yes supports issuing $10 million in bonds to fund construction and modernization of public education facilities. Vote no opposes issuing $10 million in bonds. So, I don't know who would say no to this one. I feel like this seems like a very easy, slam dunk. Money for schools. Yes. So, say people talk about the debt capacity. Legislative Analysis Office reported California is repaying an estimated $80 billion in bonded debt and is authorized to sell an outstanding $35 billion in bonds. The state spends approximately $6 billion on the general fund, 3% of total fund, each year to repay bonds. The office estimated the cost to repay Proposition 2 would be an estimated $500 million annually for 35 years. We can do it. It's doable, dude. There's a reason why we're doing these type of things. When was the last time California's voters approved a bond measure for public education facilities? California voters last approved a bond measure to fund public education facilities in 2016. All right? Issued $9 billion in bonds to fund improvement and construction of school facilities for K through 12 schools. So, I mean, once again, this is just continuing providing money for school systems and public education. I'm good with this. I see no issues with it. When you go to the arguments for the supports, bottom line, any school bond that we place on the ballot is not going to cover enormous needs for K through 12 schools and community college, but this money will help address most urgent needs. Well, the biggest issue that people have apparently is that it may not be enough money to cover what we need to cover. And then arguments. Basically, Ballotpedia is not located a campaign in a position, and if you do look this up, there really isn't much arguments against it. Most people don't really seem to, I mean, I can't imagine anyone around here be like, no, we don't want to fund our schools. No, we don't want better education systems. I don't know. Maybe there's some weirdos out there, but I don't, we're in a society. One of the society is to help each other. Unless you can think of a better or more logical point for society. Anyway. So that's Proposition 2. That's an easy peasy for me. That's a yes. Yes on Prop 2. I will tell you. Yes on Prop 2. All right, now we have Proposition 32, $18 minimum wage initiative, right? So now this is just basically continuing or gradual increase of the minimum wage, right? We were pushing it up to 15, now we're pushing it up to 18. It's great. I see no problem with this, right? I still think it's a very interesting thing, the way that they limit it to 26 employers or more. I would like to see them, move towards a more gradual increase. Kind of do feel like there should be, because I've talked to a lot of people about this, and this is one of the ones that people complained about last time when it was happening, and they were like, you know what? Just 26 employees, like, that's still pretty small, and I'm like, it's hard to disagree. You can't compare a 26 employee business to a fucking Costco or a Walmart. But on that same vein, it's basically what has been. It has been the standard. So, I don't know. We should, it seems like a good argument to make that we should push this to be more of a gradual increase. However, I don't think that we should cancel this. You know what I mean? That's it. And plus, like, the individual counties can do different things too. So that's a whole nother thing. But that's a yes to me. I don't know about you guys. California Proposition 32. C. That's what I would say. If you guys think otherwise, let me know. We can talk about it. But I don't know. Minimum wage going up. Good. Minimum wage hasn't been keeping up with the increase of profits that companies have been making. If you look at the graphs of inequality, basically, you literally just look it up, like social inequality, they will show you like the amount of money that, I think I can look this up. So basically, this is minimum wage stagnated, and this is what these guys claim. If it tracked with productivity, aka if as productivity increases and the amount of money that gets made off of this productivity increases, if that the percentage of money that goes towards the worker stayed the same, we would be making a lot more money. Basically, it's just been stagnated for a while. So good, more money. I like it. Now we got California Proposition 33 prohibits state limitations on local rent control initiative, right? So this prohibits state limitations on local rent controls, right? A vote yes supports repealing Costa Hawkins Rental Housing Act, which would thereby allow cities and counties to limit rent on any housing and limit the rent for first-time tenants. Basically, making it so that rent control is easier to acquire for a lot more counties. And also making it so that first-time tenants are able to benefit from that rent control, right? So one of the practices that a lot of landlords have been doing is basically making, when they want to increase like the rent, is making conditions unlivable, so that like encouraging people to move out, so that then they can basically readjust the price of the rent for the next person, just to market value is what usually they say, but they're just fucking increasing it, and like it is a way that is basically a loophole that has allowed people to just continuously increase the rent all throughout, and is no good. Me no like. So I would say basically yes to this one. We want to be able to remove the limitations on rent control, right? Because we want rent control. We don't want limitations on rent control. That makes sense. And I love this. This is the opponents. This is one of my favorite things. I was looking through the opponents. This is Luis Mirante, Vice President of Public Policy at the Bay Area Council. On paper, it would be legal to build new homes, but it would be illegal, largely speaking, to make money doing so. How dare they? How dare they make it hard for me to make money making new homes when we have a situation where, where is it? where basically, like, in places like Los Angeles, where people are like, oh my god, the homeless situation is so bad, right? You have this website which conveniently, does the math for us and says, okay, we have this number of vacant homes, this number of homeless people, and it gives you the number of vacant homes per person experiencing homelessness. So how many empty homes are there per one individual that is homeless? 4.53, right? And this is now different. Number of vacant house units, 288,529. Number of people experiencing homelessness, 63,706. This is .00. I didn't see that last time that well, but that's a .00. It's not. There would be an extra zero here if that was a bigger number, and it is not. AKA, we could give all these people housing and still have plenty of housing for the housing market. So one of the arguments, again, is that they say, like, we can't build new homes. Like, if you guys do this, we're just going to make it harder for yeah. Don't be fooled by the latest corporate landlord anti-housing scheme. California voters have rejected this radical proposal twice because it would freeze the construction of new housing and it could effectively reverse dozens of state housing laws. So, no. The issue, would it make it less convenient for people to make, new housing? Yes. Do we need new housing? Once again, as we saw in this website, no. We don't need more housing. We don't need to build more housing. What we need is more of that housing to be affordable. And by keeping the housing affordable, that is one way of achieving that. And people are like, oh, this isn't going to directly... There's another argument somewhere else. It's like, oh, this isn't going to directly affect... I think it was an actual Ballotpedia. It will not force local government forces to build more affordable housing. It will not provide any immediate relief to people facing homelessness. And this is very key. If you notice, even this person admits that it won't be immediate relief to the people facing homelessness. Why? Because this is not for the people facing homelessness right now, for the people who are currently homeless. This is for the people who are about to be homeless, the people whose rent increase is going to cause them to be homeless. And those are the people who we're trying to help here. By limiting the number of people who become homeless, you effectively reduce the number of homeless people. Right? I think that I make myself clear there. I hope. I think the next one has videos. This one I had a couple of videos that we could watch because these guys were talking about the homelessness issue, but I feel like I covered it well enough. I mean, these guys are talking about how, like, oh, to solve homelessness we need two big achievable things: ongoing annual funding for proven solutions, and that's the lion's share of those funds. Basically, more affordable housing. And this is a way of getting affordable housing. I like it. I have no issue with it. Yeah, this one I opened because of the pros and cons that they had here, and we talked about them. I didn't really talk about it, but I explained it. I didn't read this one, but I'll read it to you guys. It says, rent is too damn high. 1 million people have left California. Rent control in America has worked to keep people in their homes since 1919. California's 17 million renters need relief. Homeowners and taxpayers benefit from stable communities. The California dream is dying. You can help save it. I mean, I would have liked a little less flamboyancy in the rhetoric, but that's fine. Got to the point eventually. But now we got a much more interesting one. California Proposition 34. Requires certain participants in Medi-Cal RX program to spend 98% of revenues on patient care initiative. Right? It's the initiative to require certain participants in Medi-Cal RX program to spend 98% of revenues on patient care. Sounds right? Sounds like a good one. This one's like, okay, healthcare companies should spend money on patient care. That seems logical. It is interesting that someone's like requiring them to. I would feel like they already do, but I guess. So you go on to read more. A yes vote supports requiring healthcare providers that spend over $100 million in any 10-year period on anything other than direct patient care and operated multifamily housing with over 500 severity health and safety violations to spend 98% of revenues from the federal discount prescription drug program on direct patient care. What? Right? Right? That's like, wait, what? Right? They're being very specific. What do you mean? Healthcare providers to spend $100 million in a 10-year period in anything other than direct patient care. Healthcare providers that operated multifamily housing with over 500 high severity health and safety violations. All right. Okay, so those are the two criteria, and then they were requiring them to spend 98% of revenues for the federal discount prescription drug program on direct patient care. So there's a federal discount drug prescription program that I guess they're getting revenue from, and they want them to do that to direct care, right? And now they have penalizing violators of initiative with loss of tax-exempt status and licenses to operate health insurance plans, pharmacies, and clinics, and permanently authorizing medical Rx in state law. What the hell? That seems very severe. They're like, oh, if you don't give all of your money, basically, back to the patients, you're not allowed to operate health insurance plans, pharmacies, and clinics. What? Okay, that seems a little crazy. So then you look into it a little bit more, and it's like, okay. Who supports, right? Yes, and 34 patients now, which is sponsored by the California Apartment Association. What? Excuse me? Why is this supported by the California Apartment Association? That's the first clue that something fishy's going on, right? Is leading the campaign in support of Proposition 34. The campaign reported over 14.9 million through June 30th. The campaign has been endorsed by State Assembly Evan Lowe, Democrat, Republican Party of California, ALS Association, and San Francisco Women's Cancer Network. Interesting, right? The campaign said the Project Patients Now Act will force the worst abusers of the drug discount program, like the Wasters AIDS Healthcare Foundation. Okay, so now we know why they're being so specific. They're specifically trying to target the AIDS Healthcare Foundation. Back to the program's original mission to provide healthcare to low-income patients. This measure focuses only on the program's worst offenders, putting in place new accountability measures to ensure that they are appropriately using taxpayer dollars. Okay, so they're claiming that these guys aren't using their taxpayers' dollar. These guys over here, AIDS Healthcare Foundation, aren't using their taxpayer dollars, and so we need to pass a whole ballot to stop them specifically. Okay, that's interesting. So what's going on here, right? So now you have the opposition arguments, which is a very, very interesting one, right? And now watch this. This is when shit gets juicy, right? Susie Shannon, Policy Director of Housing, is a human right. The anti-renter California Apartment Association is peddling a deceptive, unconstitutional ballot measure, cleverly disguised as a patient protection bill, but is in fact designed to hurt both patients and low-income renters. It's a wolf in sheep's clothing. Don't be fooled. The Patient Protection Act targets one organization, AHF, the largest HIV/AIDS organization in the world, and the leading organization working to expand rent control for the most vulnerable in our society: low-income seniors, veterans, single parents, and patients with HIV/AIDS. California Apartment Association, which does not represent patients, has shown they are willing to deceive voters in their quest to unbridled profits. Interesting. So they're claiming that the reason that the California Apartment Association is pushing for this is because the AIDS Healthcare Foundation is specifically providing housing and helping with social services, which, in my opinion, as a healthcare facility, if you have extra money, it makes sense for you to continue to spend it on your patients in preemptive care. What's preemptive care? Ensuring people have housing, ensuring people have food, ensuring people have a place to go, ensuring people have connections. So by funding social services, they are inherently helping their patients in a very, very proactive way, I would say. All right, so now we got news coverage of Prop 34, which I think is very interesting. This is from 2 weeks ago, NBC 7 San Diego. And
You will likely see a lot of ads about
basically,
Prop 34 in California over the next few months, but there's something you need to know if it passes. It will probably affect only one nonprofit in all of California.
The group opposing it calls it a revenge measure. NBC7's Joey Sopcich explains what and who is behind Prop 34.
So first of all, there's a federal law that gives healthcare providers who serve low-income patients a discount on pharmaceutical drugs. The providers can turn...
Right, so this specifically is a discount that you're getting, aka you're making money off of these low-income individuals. So what do they do with that money? They put it into the things that are causing these people to be low-income individuals. I don't know, seems pretty good to me.
Turn around and
Well,
sell
let's see
those
what they
drugs
say.
at market rate, meaning they make a profit, which they can use to expand healthcare for disadvantaged groups. Prop 34 would require providers to spend 98% of that profit on direct patient care.
You can't be spending it on politics.
But that would only apply to a very select group of healthcare providers who check these boxes. They have to spend at least $100 million on expenses outside of direct patient care. They have to own and operate apartment buildings, and they have to have at least 500 severe health and safety violations over the last decade.
The organizations that would be subject to this proposition, there's only one, as far as anyone can tell. That's the AIDS Healthcare Foundation.
You heard it. This prop is about one group. We spoke to the No on 34 campaign manager, who also works for that group, the AIDS Healthcare Foundation.
So Proposition 34 is a revenge initiative that is targeted specifically at AIDS Healthcare Foundation. And it's primarily because AIDS Healthcare Foundation has been spearheading rent control initiatives.
The California Apartment Association is the landlord lobby supporting the Yes on Prop 34 campaign, which says a handful of bad actors are using a legal loophole to spend the money meant for patient care on building housing projects they say are run like slums. They gave us a statement arguing Prop 34 will prevent this abuse from occurring in California and requires discount drug program dollars generated in California to be used for their intended purpose, helping patients.
Because if you read the text of the prop, it seems to have everything to do with healthcare, but really, this is ultimately about housing politics in California.
Housing politics, not housing policy.
This is sort of another, and maybe one of the more extreme examples of political interest groups using the proposition system to advance their very narrow goals.
But since it'll be on your ballot, this...
So, there you go. Even more proof of what I was saying. It's basically, it's a sneaky one, but it is just an attack. And you can kind of break it down pretty quickly, because they're not very quiet with their attack. They're very loud about it. They're like, we want organizations such as the AIDS Foundation to stop giving money to low-income individuals off of the money that they make off of low-income individuals. We don't like it. We make money off of those low-income individuals, so you stop it.
There's a prop on this year's ballot that has something to do with spending restrictions on healthcare providers and Medi-Cal negotiations and something called the 340B drug pricing program, but really, it's all about this guy. Let me explain. I'm Ben Christopher, housing reporter with Cal Matters, and this is Prop 34 in a minute. The AIDS Healthcare Foundation is one of the biggest users of a federal discount drug program that gives cheaper medicine to health providers that serve low-income patients. Its CEO is a guy named Michael Weinstein. Weinstein is kind of famous in California political circles, and not because of healthcare. His foundation has bankrolled 3 statewide campaigns to remove limits on rent control, along with a bunch of other controversial issues.
Okay, so they're fighting limits on rent control, a.k.a. making rent control less available for renters. Right? So making it so that your rent can just increase willy-nilly according to what your landlord feels like doing. You know, like this month, this year, you know, they kind of want to buy a boat. So market value seems to have increased because their market value, right, in their eyes, their things that they have to pay for that year are increasing. So the market value is increasing, and therefore I need more money. So give me more money. Pay me more for your existence. Do it. Dance monkey, do it.
All of this has made Weinstein a political enemy of the state's landlord lobby, and now they're funding Prop 34.
That's a beautiful shot of San Francisco.
The initiative says that if you're a health provider
San
using this
Francisco.
federal discount drug program and you spend a lot of money on non-medical things and you own a lot of apartment buildings, and you have a bunch of code enforcement violations, then you have to spend almost all of your money providing healthcare. As far as anyone can tell, this would only apply to Weinstein's organization. Supporters say discounts meant to fund healthcare for poor people should be used for that, and not for, say, unrelated political campaigns. Opponents say this is just a political vendetta. So vote yes if you want the AIDS Healthcare Foundation and any similar health providers to spend virtually all of their money on direct patient care. Vote no if you want to leave things the way they are. To learn more about everything...
Leave things the way they are. Like how he mentions it, like how he kind of he likes the AIDS Healthcare Foundation, but he doesn't think that they should be doing this. I don't like it. But anyway, I think it's a very good one. I think we should no, it's a very good one. I think it's a very bad one. It's a good one to say no to. It's a very obvious one, right? So far, we've got a yes, a yes, a yes, and a no. Right? This is the first no. So far, it's been yes for all these other ones. Right? We want to be able to have more public education facility money. All right? We want to continue the increase of minimum wage. We want to make sure that we don't have that many limits on the areas that can have rent control. I don't like it. We want rent control. And now, Proposition 35 permanently authorized a tax on managed care organizations that fund Medi-cal programs. Huh? All right, so this one's weird. It's like, okay, managed care organization, MCO. So, tax authorization, so an MCO, right? Those are the people who do your insurance. So it says, okay. Vote support permanently authorizing a tax on managed care organizations, MCOs, the people who do your insurance, based on monthly enrollees. Right? So depending on how many people a month enroll, there's going to be a tax that they pay. Right? Which is set to expire in 2026 and requiring revenues to be used for increased Medi-cal programs. Right? So they want to increase Medi-cal programs by taxing the MCOs, which are the people who basically make money off of your insurance. So it's grabbing money from the insurance providers for Medi-cal insurance programs. I like it. You guys are making money off of this program, off of this system, so it makes perfect sense for the money that they make off of the system to go back into the system and to continue to improve it. I like it, right? It makes sense. So, what do we have? We got the supporters, all right? California Democratic Party and the Republican Party. Interesting. This is a bipartisan one. What? Both parties want increased health care? Wow. Sounds like it's a genuinely popular idea. Who would have thought? So this one's pretty simple. They're just telling you that this requires state to request federal approval of MCO tax and allocate MCO tax revenue on certain healthcare investments. Easy peasy, right? I think that's a pretty easy one. Let's vote yes, right? So this is a yes for me. Now we've got another juicy one. This is California Proposition 36. Okay, Proposition 36, Drug and Theft Crime Penalties and Treatment Mandated Felonies Initiative. All right, so this is going to be a proposition that focuses on increasing the penalties for both drug-related offenses and theft crime. All right, so vote yes supports making changes to Proposition 47. All right, classifying certain drug offenses as treated mandatory felonies. All right, treatment mandated felonies. I like it. That sounds good. That sounds like a good thing. You know, I want there to be treatment mandated felonies. I like it. However, isn't this already a thing? You know, it's one of those things that's like, wait, doesn't this already happen in courts where, you know, as they go through the court process, if they find that the individual has an addiction problem, it doesn't make sense to just send them into jail where they're going to do anything they can to finagle some amount of drug from anybody, even if it's not the drug that they're looking for, just because they need they're addicted. And, that's bad. So you would want them to have treatment. These things already happen. So, a little weird. Sounds good. A little weird that they putting this in a ballot when it's already a thing. Second bullet point, increases penalties for certain drug crimes by increasing sentence lengths and level of crime. Okay, so this is just making our prisons more crowded. That's a big bad. That's a big no-no for me. And, having people in prison for nonviolent crime, that's not something I'm all that down for. I do think that there should be punishments. I do also think that prison systems have a lot to go to finally become rehab systems. And as they are right now, they are literally punishment systems where people go in, and if you're not a fucking murderer person, a gang member, you're gonna be a gang member by the time you come out of the prison because of the culture that has been allowed to develop in these prisons, because of the hierarchies that are basically pushed on by both fellow inmates, but also the prison system and the officers in the way that they treat them. Anyway. Requiring courts to warn individuals convicted of distributing illegal drugs of their potential future in criminal liability if they distribute deadly drugs like fentanyl, heroin, cocaine, and methamphetamine. Not bad. Although, another thing where it's like, I feel like that already happens. It would be nice if it happened every time. So I do like the idea of pushing for this. But this, along with this, this is a big no. So even if this sounds nice, it's not worth it. We can do it in some other way, and it's not that big of a priority, in my opinion. Last one, increasing sentences for theft based on the value of property stolen. Again, I don't think this is really going to do much. And the reason I don't think this is really going to do much is why? Well, as talked about in the LA Times, which, on and off on their credibility, but this article does a pretty sharp job to basically say why it is that that they say no on Prop 36, and their biggest argument is right here. Right? I looked for it because I fucking reopened this page and I couldn't find it. So police could stop petty thieves now if they made misdemeanor arrest, as they can and sometimes should under current law. But they don't, because they argue it's not worth their time. They're asking voters to change the laws to fit accustomed practices rather than update their practices to fit the laws they're asked to enforce. And this is something that I have seen in this whole sentiment of the cops basically saying, like, well, it's not worth arresting them because they're just going to be let out, and like they're not going to be given the proper punishment that they think that they deserve. And so in protest, they basically come out and say, well, we're going to do less. And this is something that we can see visually. Right? We have the San Francisco Chronicle, and they're arguing over here that the reason that they can't do it is because they can't, because it's too much. But how is it that the number of overall citations has dropped so dramatically? It would make sense if it had stagnated while the population of people has continued to go up, and therefore the number of stops should theoretically go up with it. But no, it has gone down. It has fully gone down. AKA, even if they say that they don't have enough people, why did they have enough people here and not now? What's the difference? There isn't one. If anything, most police departments have been given more money throughout the past couple of years. So what is going on? What could be the reason why cops seem to be struggling with making citations? Well, turns out to be that they don't really want to. And again, I said this earlier. it seems to be in response to these situations, to these laws. They don't like it. They feel like the perpetrators should be given more of a punishment, and therefore they decide that actually they're not gonna do anything about it and hope that that somehow improves things. But then they arguing that crime has increased, but they're actually just letting it happen. And this is a prime example right here, right? So this footage that I was showing you, I don't know if you can see it. Experts baffled by video showing San Francisco police apparently watching as burglary unfolds. A surveillance video that appears to show San Francisco police standing by and watching as a burglary unfolds left experts baffled on Wednesday, while city leaders called for an explanation. All right. In the footage, 3 patrol cars arrive at the Bay Area Safe Alternate Dispensary on Grove Street in the Lower Heights shortly after 4:30 a.m. on November 16th. Police said a neighbor called 911 after hearing alarms buzz at the building, saying she'd observed 2 or 3 people inside the building removing bags of merchandise and loading them into a gray parked car out front. All right. One patrol car shined a spotlight on the possible getaway vehicle, where 2 suspects waited while a third lingered inside for almost 40 seconds. Police stood by as the final suspect left the building, jumped into the driver's seat of the sedan, executed a 3-point turn, and fled. So you can see it right here. You can see the cops over here, another cop car right here. This is the person, right? They're getting in the car. All right, all of them getting in the car, like, okay, I guess we're just continuing as usual. Last person comes in, right, and they make their turn, and they leave. And you can see that the mouse show that this is not like video that happened at different times. This is one side, this is the other side, and you can see this is the entrance, right? There's a little like wheelchair accessible entrance, and you can see this individual walking through, and the mouse is very kind to show you the individual is coming through, and there's going to come out from this side. And you can see, as the mouse showed, the individual is there, the lights are here. That individual is the cop! Oh my god! Oh my god. This is ridiculous. Anyway, so this is prime example number 1. Oh my god. Let's see. I'm not sure what this one's about. I think this one's just talking about how there's been a delay in response times.
That's no longer in progress in San Francisco and you're not injured, it could take days for SFPD to respond. That's according to the San Francisco Police Officers Association president.
ABC 7 News I-Team reporter Melanie Woodrow joining us live now in the newsroom. And Melanie, you talked to a business owner who was victimized 2 weeks
So
in a
one
row
of the
about
other
how long
things
it took
that they've
police
said
to-
too, and this is something they say here, is that where was it? Ah, there it is. From the perspective of law enforcement, the reasons behind that drop are complicated. They range from purported staff shortages to training thinning out during pandemic lockdowns to a 2015 state law that requires officers to carefully document whom they stop to guard against racial profiling, right? Arguing basically that it takes too long for them to process all this paperwork. It's too much paperwork. They don't want to do it. AKA, they want to be able to keep doing racial profiling. This is just basically in response to this last one. And it is so disgusting, really, that this is what's happening. And it's something that people have talked about over and over again, about the overall culture of a lot of police departments. I know not all of them have this culture, you know, but there is a constant narrative amongst people who have left the force about there being a culture.
Come to take a report.
Exactly. The owner of Fillmore Bake Shop was not waiting days, but she worries she may have been had she not finally resorted to contacting someone she knew within SFPD personally. Injured and scared, she's resigned herself to the idea that it was simply her turn to be victimized in San Francisco. There's plenty of sweetness inside Fillmore Bake Shop along.
Yeah. So this is what it's doing. This is the sentiment that it pushes onto people. So let's see what they say. So California Proposition 36 is being talked about in the news. So let's see.
The debate over a controversial proposition is pitting San Jose's mayor against Governor Newsom. Prop 36 would roll back some of the key provisions from another controversial law, which is Prop 47, which changed many felonies into misdemeanors.
Yeah, supporters of Prop 36 say those changes went too far and gave many criminals a free pass. The mayor actually supports it, but the governor does not. NBC's Robert Honda joins us from the Santa Clara County Jail.
Supporters and opponents of Prop 36 are fighting over this move to work over Prop 47 with dueling images, overcrowded jails and prisons versus sometimes violent retail crime. The jarring images of mass shoplifting and smash and grab robberies are just a few of the crimes fueling those who want voters to pass California Prop 36 in November. Dealing with crime and punishment in California has been an evolving process. In 2012, voters approved the 3 strikes law, putting offenders in prison for a third felony regardless of the crime. But prison populations went up. So in 2014, voters approved Prop 47, a ballot initiative that changed a lot of non-violent felonies, including shoplifting, petty theft, and minor drug offenses, to misdemeanors. San Jose Mayor Matt Mahan says 47 went too far, so he went to the state capitol, joining with other local nonpartisan leaders, pushing Prop 36, which increases prison time for certain drug-related crimes, makes certain drug offenses treatment-mandated felonies, all with the idea drug use, especially the fentanyl, leads to other crimes. Mahan says the key is targeting repeat offenders and focusing on treatment.
Well, that there has to be accountability, there have to be consequences for committing crimes, but those consequences...
And they claim that it's focusing on treatment, yet it doesn't do anything to actually set up the treatment. They just say, oh, there should be treatment. Set it up then. Give funds for that. Set it up. If you actually care about helping the people, set it up. Ridiculous.
This can be humane, they can be uplifting, they can get people who desperately need treatment into treatment. We can go from an era of mass incarceration to an era of mass treatment.
Governor Newsom is among those who have come out against 36, calling it drug reform that will only continue to fuel the state's prison overcrowding crisis. A community watchdog group, Silicon Valley Debug, reluctantly agrees with the governor, saying Prop 36 would take away savings garnered from 47 that funds the very treatment programs people arrested would need.
We know the real issues that our community needs, particularly here in San Jose and Silicon Valley, is housing, is economic opportunities, is mental health treatments, is substance use treatments. Prop 36 removes those staples of solutions and replaces it with a jail cell, a prison cell, and a record of incarceration.
The fighting over Prop 36 has become very political.
There you go. I mean, I really agree with this dude right here. I mean, at the end of the day, this is not what we need. This is not what's going to see this is not going to help us see the, God damn it. This is not what's going to help us change or issue with crime. Oh, God, people suck. So yeah, most people are voting yes from polls that I've seen too, or that I've heard of that I haven't seen because I've been looking for them. But it's very interesting. Let's see what CBS News says.
Is getting answers for you on what Proposition 36 means for you. Thanks for joining us here at 10 on this Friday night. Lots to get to. I'm Tony Lopez.
And I'm Hunter Sowards. It's promising to be one of the biggest issues this election year, how to crack down on rampant retail theft across California. Law enforcement want voters to decide through a ballot measure.
But Governor Newsom delivering a counterpunch today to what we'll be voting on come November.
He signed 10 bills today. One eliminates the locked door loophole. That's where you had to prove your car was locked when someone broke into it. Another law allows prosecutors to collect crimes into one court to charge the person with a felony, while another bill makes those retail crime task forces across the state a permanent thing.
Another would let stores get restraining orders against people who harass their employees, and SB 1242 allows longer sentences for people who set fires to distract as they steal merchandise. Those are the changes the legislature is making, but what will voters get to decide on? Your reporter Madison Keevy joins us on set getting you answers. Lots to unpack with this one.
Oh yeah, and the decision is in the hands
of those are other things, right?
Voters on how the state further tackles retail theft. And
now
right now, polls show that a
this.
majority of voters want harsher penalties for theft and fentanyl.
Videos of retail thefts from the high end to the smash and grab at the mom and pop businesses put the issue in the spotlight over and over.
That many of the retail thefts are actually being committed by people who are homeless and seriously addicted, and they're stealing thefts.
I'm sorry, bro. Do these people look homeless to you? Have you seen the homeless people out there? Do these people look homeless to you? I don't know what they're talking about.
Spotlight over and over.
I don't know what the hell they're talking about. Even the footage that they show us right before. It's this push for, ew, it's the homeless guy. Which is just even so much more fucked up.
That many of the retail thefts are actually being committed by people who are homeless and seriously addicted, and they're stealing to support their habit.
The Yolo County District Attorney explained why he and other DAs statewide are backing Proposition 36.
Retail theft, homelessness and addiction, and fentanyl.
To understand how these three issues landed in one bill, we're getting answers. What does it mean to vote yes on Prop 36? It means increased punishment for certain drug and theft crimes. Right now, theft of property worth $950 or less is usually a misdemeanor. This proposition
and you can still get arrested for that.
For
and yet people don't get arrested for that. Keep that in mind.
People who have 2 or more previous theft-related convictions on their record. It would create new treatment-mandated felony classifications for drug crimes and require
something that's already basically happening in the courts.
Courts to warn people convicted of selling.
Something that should be already happening in the courts, but you know, I'm not really against their pushing for this being a thing.
Or giving drugs to others that they could be charged with murder if they sell drugs that kill someone. A no vote would mean punishment for drug and theft crimes would stay the same. Governor Gavin Newsom and a majority of state Democrats oppose the ballot measure. He said Friday it promotes a promise of treatment that can't be delivered.
That initiative has nothing to do with retail theft. This has everything to do with retail theft. That initiative is about going back to the 1980s and the war on drugs. It's about.
I mean, most of the pushes that it had were to increase, basically, punishment times, and that's not the best way to do it. One of the things that he's gonna go on to talk about, and I don't know if I pulled it up or not, but that we have new laws for 2024 that already do longer prison sentences for fentanyl trafficking. We already have laws coming up that are going to be doing this, right? We already have laws that have passed. And that's something that Mayor of Sacramento, Darrell Steinberg, talks about. We'll go to that one after this.
Mass incarceration.
Not all within Newsom's party agree, as politics at large highlighted this week.
We've heard the narrative that perhaps the Proposition 36 is only supported by Republicans. That is not true.
The question now for voters, how do they feel with just over 2 months from Election Day? A poll of likely California voters show 56% would vote.
Berkeley Iggs poll. I'm gonna have to look that up. I was gonna say I remember that I watched in one of these videos, so I'll see it. Just Proposition 36. Oh. And Proposition 32. Divided views about Proposition 33 to expand local authority and screw that, man. We want rent control. Why are we divided? God damn. What are we divided on? What is this? What is this? What is this? Where does it tell me? Mixed views in Proposition 33 to expand local governments to enact rent control act. Why? 40% of likely voters are supporting the initiative. 34 are opposed. Why? Stop it, guys. Stop it. We want rent control. Rent control good. Jesus. Anyway.
Vote yes. 23% would vote no, and 21% are undecided.
What we've heard over and over again from people is that what we're doing in California isn't working.
Yeah, even with that 21% undecided, it's going to be really hard to push this one to a no. But it should be a no. Definitely should be.
Within the bills signed by the governor today, some do tackle repeat offenders, which is addressed in Prop 36. It would, allow the other counties to collect crimes across multiple counties and put them into one court so they can be charged as a felony, which is something we hear come up over and over again in this discussion, is these repeat offenders. And if you're moving from county to county, it's hard to hold them accountable, some say.
I was struck by the fact that the governor said Prop 36 isn't about retail theft.
Right.
But incarceration.
Right, absolutely. Especially with the treatment, he says.
I mean, it doesn't really do much about retail theft. It just gives you more incarceration. And we already have laws for that. And as I said, it kind of seems like they're just not being followed up on. And I really want to find that freaking footage of that cop being interviewed and saying that, but I couldn't find it.
Sacramento Mayor Darrell Steinberg is against Prop 36.
So this is,
for his current job, he was the longtime leader of California's state senate. He joins us now from Sacramento.
He does a really good job explaining why it is that this Proposition 36 is a bunch of baloney.
Our affiliate CBS 13, Mayor Steinberg, welcome to The Issue Is, I believe, for the very first time.
It's my debut, and I'm really looking forward to it. Thank you, Alex.
Good to see you. So real simply, why are you a no on Prop 36?
We have a very serious problem in our state with retail theft and with drug abuse and drug addiction, and of course, the sale of fentanyl and all the tragedies that have gone with that. This is the wrong solution to basically increase our jail and prison population while cutting the funding for treatment, which is the stated intent of Prop 36. This initiative taps into the emotion and the anger that people feel. But as often happens with some initiatives, just because it states a problem, and a serious problem, doesn't mean the solution is the right one, and this is the wrong one. Let me tell you why. It takes us back decades to an era where we are going to imprison people or put people in county jail, not for drug sales, but for drug possession. And I might be for it. I might be for using the criminal law to induce or require people to get into treatment if I believed that the proponents and some of their partners were actually serious about increasing the slots, the beds, the services for those people who are severely addicted to drugs. And I don't believe that's the case. And it's born out of my experience as mayor of this city around homelessness. We are fighting all the big city mayors to do everything we can to reduce homelessness. We've had a 41% reduction in unsheltered homelessness in the city and county of Sacramento. But we're not. And it's the counties of California who do a good job.
We're not going to do that by putting them in prisons, which is what people keep suggesting. If I can end up responding to this person. He's acting like their programs are helping in the first place. Homelessness get housed in jail/prisons, and criminals face actual consequences. Sounds like a win-win. No, dude. Jails are not fucking housing. What's wrong with you? That's even more expensive. Jesus. It's so much cheaper to go and spend money on a one-time project of creating affordable housing, or not even creating it, just, giving a little bit of money to someone to make it, giving them an incentive, as opposed to running a full fucking prison for your full sentence. Even if you just take into consideration of one individual person's cost, it doesn't make sense.
Job on many things, but we're not getting enough people into treatment, into the wraparound services that people who have drug addiction or on the streets need. If we're not able to do that, what makes anybody think that charging people with serious crimes that could result in imprisonment and jail is actually going to lead to the very treatment that Prop 36 purports to allow? In fact, it's just the opposite, because when we increase the prison population and the jail population, that squeezes out the money to be able to not just keep drug treatment slots at the current level, but actually to increase them. Do you know that there are 18 counties in the state of California that do not have a single drug treatment bed? So I think it's a false promise. And I think it will disappoint the voters if it passes. And I urge a no vote.
But isn't part of it not necessarily just mandating prison time or jail time, but there is an option giving discretion to mandate treatment, and that there's a lot of folks on the streets that have...
Yeah, but if you're taking the funds away from the treatment as you're trying to mandate treatment, that's equivalent of no treatment.
Refuse treatment that may need to be mandated treatment to help them.
Well, again, there is no evidence that the district...
Plus, that's already happening within the courts.
Attorneys who are sponsoring this, or their partners at the county, are committed to actually increasing the amount of treatment that would be necessary to not only address the plight of those who are homeless on the streets, but those cycling in and out of jail and prison, because that's where we've chosen to put people if Prop 36 passes. The idea of trying to induce people to get treatment is fine. It's not philosophical. But the legislature 2 years ago passed the Eggman bill that allows for to make it easier to conserve people who are drug addicted or dealing with serious mental illness. There's the care courts now, which is a civil process by which counties, if they choose, and cities can file petitions to require that people get the help and treatment they need. It's simply too expensive, and it's unfair to think that you're going to put people in prison or in jail simply because they are addicted to drugs, when we know that what really needs to happen is to increase treatment. Again, if there was a seriousness of purpose by the proponents to link using the criminal law to increasing treatment and services, it might be a different story. But that's not what this is. There's one other factor, if I might, Alex, and that is this initiative does not stand before the voters in isolation. This year, the legislature and the governor passed comprehensive enhancements to the criminal law for both retail theft and for drug sales, specifically fentanyl. Under the laws that the governor signed, the DAs can now aggregate two offenses if they're less than $950. If two of them together over $950, you can charge it as a felony. You can.
I mean, you already, like I said, you already have these increases. I think
Get
there's
an
one more part
injunction
that
to
I want to
prohibit the
watch.
person that might be preying on your
be
retail
right back.
establishment, small business, from ever coming in your store again. You can arrest, a police officer can arrest somebody even if they don't witness the crime, the shoplifting crime or the theft crime. It comes down hard on online retail theft. On fentanyl, the governor signed a bill this week that will provide a 3-year sentence enhancement for anybody who sells more than a kilogram of fentanyl. And so the legislature and the governor took this issue seriously. They passed a comprehensive set of laws, and now Prop 36, in some ways I would argue, is weaker in terms of holding people accountable. But what it really does is take us back to the era of more people sitting in jails and prisons without any real promise of the treatment that people need.
But this isn't just conservative DAs that are pushing this. You have progressive mayors in places like San Diego, San Francisco, and San Jose. Mayor Mahan, who was with us last week, who were all saying that we need to do this. They all were supporters of Proposition 1, which you put out to help increase treatment. Mayor Mahan talked about Prop 47's impact on minority communities when he joined us last week. I want to play that and have you respond.
In terms of disproportionate impacts, the data would show the opposite. It's our communities of color that are most impacted by drug overdoses, by homelessness. It's our small businesses. In San Jose, we have 60,000 small businesses, over half of which are immigrant owned. Those are the folks coming to me every day asking us to do more, asking us to do better.
He says since Prop 47 passed, drug overdoses have doubled, homelessness is up 60% in California, and we've seen rise in retail theft. What do you say to all the people who have been victimized and feel like Prop 47 isn't working and we need to do something radically different?
Well, first of all, I have great regard for Mayor Mahan and Mayor Gloria. They're two of our 13 big city mayors. They're great friends, and I have great regard and respect for them. I just plain disagree with them on this. And as to the victims, they are right to be frustrated, absolutely. But frustration can also lead to bad public policy. And in this instance, I think it does, because there's nothing in Prop 36 that actually says people are going to get the help they need. And, you know, this is maybe, and Prop 47, frankly, I think it has been an unfair scapegoat for far too many of the society's problems. You know, in Texas, for example, that the threshold between misdemeanor and felony is much higher than the 950 in California. Texas, the law and order state. There's been a lot of myths and facts here. The truth of the matter is that DAs currently have the authority to charge people who are selling drugs. If you possess drugs of a high enough amount, you can also be charged with a felony, and they can seek mandated treatment, both under the criminal law and under the civil law. And they're not doing it. They're not doing it because there aren't enough treatment slots. And so just because people are rightfully frustrated about a problem doesn't mean that the solution that's being put forward is going to alleviate their frustration. Again, if this were just the only thing that was done this year, Prop 36 putting on the ballot, that would be one thing. I repeat again, the governor and the legislature passed comprehensive bills that increase criminal penalties for much of the same things that Prop 36 does. But it doesn't put more people in prison unless they are engaged in multiple thefts or unless they are engaged in the sale of drugs. And that's the right thing. I am all for the carrot and the stick. And I think most Californians are all for the carrot and the stick. But if you're going to use the stick, then you have the obligation to actually fight for and show that you mean it when you say you're going to provide treatment to people. That isn't the case. And so a false promise, I think, is what we have here. Imagine this passing: more people in prison, more people in jail, less money for treatment, and people cycling in and out of the jails and the prisons without a chance to even get better. You know, we have a big recidivism rate in California prisons. The governor asked me to leave the San Quentin.
Recidivism rate meaning how many people leave the prison and then come back into the prison system, aka are not basically able to make it out there in society, even with all the tools that they're supposedly given.
Rehabilitation project, and
which also, you know, having a prison sentence makes it also very difficult for you to get a job. But there are supposed to be programs at most prisons to help you get through that hump. How well those programs work, that's a whole nother issue.
Produced a report that said what everybody knows: 90% of the people who leave our prisons, 90% of the people in our prisons will eventually get out. And we have a nearly 50% recidivism rate compared to some European countries, which is 20 to 25%. What does that tell you? It tells you that we're not doing enough to help prepare people for the outside. Well, the same is true of all the people who are sick because they're addicted to drugs. I don't mind using the stick, but I have no confidence that those who are fighting so hard for this are going to be as committed, nearly as committed, to making sure people get the help that they need.
And real quickly, you understand the politics of this moment. Do you think Prop 36 passes?
I don't know. I mean, I know that it's ahead in the polls, but this is why we have these discussions, because I don't believe, I've seen it way too many times in my 30-year career, the underlying emotion of a movement or an issue can be the right one. But then be careful that the solution that is put forward is not overkill. Because when
it's not even that it's overkill. The solution's not even addressing the issue properly. That's it. It's really a show of force and something to feed the prison system. And why would we want to feed the prison system? So this is another thing. Like, every time you look at most things, what are the underlying, what's the underlying push one way or the other, right? And so why would you want to, keep your prisons full? And that's something that we can relate to California Proposition 6. That's why. Proposition 6, right? So Proposition 6, remove involuntary servitude as punishment for crime. What? Basically, the amendment would repeal language prohibiting involuntary servitude. So, amending the state constitution to prohibit slavery and involuntary servitude as punishment for a crime and authorize the Department of Corrections and Rehabilitation to award credits to incarcerated persons who voluntarily participate in work assignments. Right? Basically, you've got supporters and no opposition. Because nobody wants fucking slave labor, basically. Involuntary servitude is basically slave labor, if you guys don't know. That is what slave labor is. We don't want slave labor. We don't want it, right? And why would it be beneficial, right? Why do people push for it? Why would someone push for more people being in prison? And why would someone push against this? Well, because there's lots of money to be made, right? So there's this video, Washington Week PBS, the forced prison labor that made companies rich, right? And so this is a very, very good video.
I'm Yanish Alcindor, and each week I recommend great reporting that I think deserves your attention. And today I want to highlight an incredible episode of Reveals podcast called Locked Up, the prison labor that built business empires. It's based on reporting from the Associated Press about a form of slavery practiced by some southern states after the Civil War ended. It was called convict leasing, and for 60 years, states like Florida, Alabama, Tennessee, they sent African Americans in prison, usually for minor crimes, in their state to work for private companies for a price. And their work, doing things like building railroads, making steel, and working in coal mines, made those companies rich. Margie Mason is one of the Associated Press reporters behind this project, and she joins me now. So thank you so much for being here. Welcome to Washington Week Recommend. So, Margie, if you could just break down the history.
Even though I didn't keep the thing open. All right. U.S. companies that use prison labor, right? Hidden prison labor. Prisoners in the U.S. are part of the hidden workforce linked to hundreds of popular food brands. All right. So they're among America's most vulnerable laborers. If they refuse to work, some can jeopardize the chances of parole or face punishment, like being sent to solitary confinement. AKA, if you don't work, you go to solitary fucking confinement. That's insane, dude. They are also often excluded from protections guaranteed to almost all other full-time workers, even if they are seriously injured or killed on the job. So, this is pretty intense. Some prisoners work on the same plantation soil where slaves harvested cotton, tobacco, sugarcane more than 150 years ago, with some present-day images looking eerily similar to the past. In Louisiana, which has one of the country's highest incarceration rate, men working on the farmline still stoop over crops stretching far into the distance. We still have slave labor, right? And if you wonder, there is a prison named after plantation, and it's, I think, the largest prison in it's Louisiana. Louisiana State Penitentiary, also known as Angola, and nicknamed Alcatraz of the South, the Angola Plantation and the Farm, right? So why is it known as Angola, right? Originally a family plantation with the antebellum mansion overlooking the river and the delta land adjacent to the Belt and Road. Angola, a name derived from Latin word, the place of anguish. The place of anguish was created in the 1900s following the Prison Control Board's purchase of the 8,000-acre plantation, consisting of several small camps built with the inmate labor within confines of the plantation compound. It's a fucking plantation just rebranded as a fucking prison. And people wonder why there would be a push to continue incarcerating black people. Why? Oh, I don't know why there even would be. Why would cops do that? Why would there be a... This is why. To fucking continue or beautifully fucking racist practice. Anyway, enough of that. So this one's what, 36? And this is the last thing we can talk about, Proposition 36, and then we can move on to the next one. We'll do the little breakdown from Cal Matters.
10 years ago, Californians rejected the war on drugs.
Pretty easy.
Instead of long sentences in overcrowded prisons for drug possession and shoplifting, voters chose to make those crimes misdemeanors. But prosecutors, the police, and big box retailers say those changes have made crime worse. In November, voters get to choose. Do they think harsher sentences will prevent crime? And would imposing them really cut down on homelessness? I'm Nigel Duara, Justice reporter with Cal Matters, and this is Prop 36 in a minute. Way back in the 2000s, California's government had a problem. Years of three-strike laws had filled prisons beyond their capacities. In 2014, voters passed Prop 47. It made stealing something worth less than $950 into a misdemeanor. It did the same thing to some drug crimes. Prop 36 would unwind some of that, reinstating harsher penalties for some theft and drug crimes. Supporters say the measure would cut down on homelessness by forcing unhoused people into drug treatment. Opponents say the measure will waste hundreds of millions of dollars to lock up people who don't pose a danger to society. So vote yes if you want to increase the penalties on shoplifting and drug possession. Vote no if you want to keep things the way they are. To learn more about everything on your 2024 ballot, go to calmatters.org.
Well, there you go. There you have it. I thought that was a pretty good breakdown. I mean, didn't really say much. So far, let's do a recount. What do we got? Proposition 2, yes. Issue $10 billion in bonds to fund construction and modernization of public education facilities. Proposition 32, increase the state's minimum wage to $18 per hour. Yes. Yes. Proposition 33, repeals Costa Hawkins Rental Housing Act. Yes. We want to repeal that because that limited rent control. And we don't want to limit rent control. We want rent control to be rent control. Anyway. Proposition 34 requires certain, we should have certain in here, healthcare providers to spend 98% of revenues from federal discount prescription drug programs and direct patient care. So now we know this one's a very sneaky one, and so this is a no, because it really is only affecting one company, and it is very obvious that it's only affecting one company, and that company is actually trying to do preventative care. So how about fuck off, right? Because this is a push by the apartment something. The fucking realtors. Fucking landlord associations to continue being able to charge people a bunch of money and not have to compete with affordable housing initiatives by the AIDS Foundation. Okay? So, that is a no on 34. So, yes, no. Now we have 35, permanently authorized tax on managed care organizations to fund medical programs. Yes. And this is to continue a tax system, basically, that's already been happening, and to make it permanent, and to make it so that the money that is being made off of healthcare goes back to healthcare. Seems logical to me, right? So yes, right? So yes, no, yes. 36. Increase penalties for certain drug crimes and theft convictions. Allow new class of crime to be treated mandated felony. No, that's a no. This one is actually a continuation of the war on drugs movement, and basically is going to fill up the prisons, not something we want. Okay? Now, Proposition 3, Pretty easy one, right? Proposition 3, right to marry, and repeal Proposition 8 amendment. A yes vote supports this constitutional amendment to repeal Proposition 8 from 2008. What's Proposition 8? Define marriage as a union between a man and a woman and declare that a right to marry is a fundamental right. So that's the second thing that it's doing. Declare that a right to marry is a fundamental right. So, beautiful. I like it. It seems tasty, right? We want people to be able to marry. We have some opponents that are freaking California Capital Connection Alliance of Independent Baptist Ministers and Churches, aka religious people. What do they say? Marriage has been defined as a union between a man and a woman from the beginning. God instituted it. The debate about marriage is not about love or hate. It's about truth. Man cannot redefine what God has already defined. Get out of here, dude. Family counsel for President Jonathan Keller. In a society like ours, you never can count on what people are willing to do for legal and financial political reasons. And ACA 5, again, eliminates any of those safeguards. And it opens up a Pandora's box. Oh no! Everybody can get married now. Oh! You could have siblings getting married. You could have nephews and nieces marrying uncles and aunts. You could have, potentially, even mothers and fathers marrying each other. What? What? Mothers and fathers marrying each other? Isn't that what you want? Our mothers and children. Our fathers and children. God, who is this? Oh my god, I want to see. I want to see if there's footage of this motherfucker saying this. This has got to be gold, dude. Oh my god, what is this? Proposition 3? Oh my god.
Pro-life advocates have been trying to chip away at the constitutional right to abortion provided by Roe v. Wade.
Oh wait, no, this is abortion. Oh, this is 2 years ago. This is not the one we want. You could have siblings getting married. You could have nephews and nieces. Oh my god, is there anything else he said? Keller said ACA 5 could be a disaster if enriched into law, since California is one of the few states that child marriage remains legal. Because it's going to set up a constitutional protection to say, well, this is a constitutional right. Yeah, children are getting legal. That's married. That's why this is being pushed. Has nothing to do with the gays, right? Even at this point, they know that pushing for that and pushing an anti-gay movement is gonna look bad. So they say this weird fucking stuff about children getting married. God damn, dude. Oh. Anyway. California Proposition 4, the Parks, Environment, Energy, and Water Bond Measure, is on the ballot in California and as a legislative referred bond act on November 5th, right? A yes vote supports issuing $10 billion in bonds to fund state and local parks, environmental protection projects, water infrastructure projects, energy projects, and flood protection projects, right? So this is going to be $10 million in bonds. It's another bond one, so it's another one that a lot of people are like, what about our deficit? Right, so if you look over here and you'll see who supports and opposes Proposition 4. Proposition 4 is opposed by Howard Davis Taxpayers Association, which said these bonds will be paid by people decades from now. No, they're not going to be paid by the people. No, they're going to be paid by the government. Which, you know, if they need money, they should just raise the taxes on the rich. And that's what they're scared of. Anyway. Ballotpedia has not identified any campaigns registered to support or oppose Proposition 4. The bond measure has been endorsed by the California Labor Federation, IBEW Local 569, Clean Water Action, Environmental Defense Fund, Natural Resources Defense Council, Caitlin Rodner-Sutter, State Director of the California Environmental Defense Fund. All right, what does they say? We need to be not only helping communities adapt to climate change right now, but we also need to be reducing our climate pollution. This is not a problem that we can wait until convenient to fund in the budget. Exactly. So here's the thing this is basically the sentiment that I have. People say, it's expensive. I say, you know what's more expensive? Global fucking warming. Can we do something about it before it gets even more expensive? It's like people who are like, oh no, I don't want to fix, whatever's wrong with my car. It's expensive. And then you don't fix it, and then you have more car problems, and then later, it's way more expensive. Oh, I don't want to switch my brakes yet. I can wait. It's so expensive to switch my brakes. If you've ever been in that situation, you know what I'm talking about. Why no switch? It is switch. Why you don't know switch? It is switch.
More intense heat waves, devastating floods, ferocious wildfires. Californians can't escape the effects of climate change. At the same time, nearly 1 million of them still don't have clean drinking water. That's why environmental groups are pushing for a surge in state funding. I'm Alejandro Lasso, climate reporter for Cal Matters, and this is Prop 4 in a minute. If a majority of voters say yes, Proposition 4 would authorize $10 billion in bonds to fund environmental and climate projects across the state. The measure would give priority to lower-income communities and those most vulnerable to climate change. The biggest chunk of bond money, $1.9 billion, would go to improving drinking water. But there's more. Money would also go to wildfire prevention and extreme heat projects, natural lands and parks, coastal protection, clean energy initiatives, and even agricultural improvements. In total, the cost to taxpayers would be $400 million a year over the next 40 years, meaning we could end up spending $16 billion in the long run, according to the state's nonpartisan legislative analysts. Why now? Well, environmental groups and renewable energy advocates have been pushing to spend more, especially after the state scaled back its original climate spending plan. Governor Gavin Newsom and the legislature approved the California climate commitment in 2022, but have since scaled it back by nearly $10 billion after the state faced a massive deficit.
So that's basically bringing it back up by $10 million.
Supporters say the threats posed by wildfires, water pollution, and extreme heat are too urgent not to act, but opponents warn that bonds are the most expensive way for the government to pay for these projects. They argue that California should find other ways to finance these initiatives without taking on more debt. So what do you think? Vote yes.
Dude, we can't keep waiting. It's the fastest way of doing it. If this was a problem that we could wait on, or if this was a problem that we acted early on, then we would have had other ways, aka raising fucking taxes on companies that make billions of fucking dollars. Anyway.
If you support borrowing $10 billion for climate and environmental projects, vote no if you think.
So this one basically. Water and drought, 3.8 billion. Wildlife and forest resilience, 1.5 billion. Coastal resilience, 1.2 billion. Biodiversity protection, 1.2 billion. Clean air programs, 850 million. Parks and outdoor access, 700 million. Extreme heat mitigation, what's that one? 450 million. Urban greening, urban forest, strategic community resilience centers, and local relief community grants. It'd be nice to have more urban greening and urban forests, but I don't know how we're going to get that done in most of the fucking California areas, but hey, sure. Climate smart farms and ranches. Okay. Supporters include dozens of environmental groups, and who are the ones who oppose it? The bond's main opponents are Republican lawmakers and the Howard Jarvis Taxpayers Association, which argue that the bond is too expensive and that California should fund these priorities without more debt. These priorities, at least they acknowledge that they're priorities. They have no race, no money in opposition to the bond. Oof. Ouch. Okay, so what's next? We got California has enough debt. It doesn't need 10 million more for a climate bond, so that's Cal Matters. All right, this is a commentary. So this is the people that we watched earlier. The Cal Matters are over here, right? So these guys are seemingly against it. Imagine using your credit card to buy something. It's not a credit card, bud. Sorry, but it's not a credit card, Brian. It's different. This is state fucking funding. This is very, very different than family funding. This is a proposal with Democrats and legislature asking California taxpayers to do with Proposition 4, right? There are other ways of, just like he said, that there are other ways of funding these programs, or other ways of funding that debt that we're acquiring. So, your argument destroys itself. Anyway, this was going to be a little bit of an introduction on government deficits, but Robert Reich mostly talks about federal deficit as opposed to the state deficit, which is still kind of relevant, but not in the same way that in which I'm talking about it. But, you know,
when asked about
play
America's soaring debt and deficits, Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell lamented it's disappointing, but it's not a Republican problem. And he blames Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid. Rubbish. It's not social spending that's causing the federal deficit to soar. It's Republican tax cuts, especially on corporations and the wealthy. Look at the evidence. Of all 35 advanced economies, America's spending on social programs like Medicare, Social Security, and Medicaid is among the lowest, as you can see. Also, Americans pay into Social Security and Medicare throughout their entire working lives. The biggest reason America has the highest deficit relative to our total economy among all 35 advanced economies is because of a shortage of tax revenue. Of all these countries, we're bringing in the 5th lowest total revenue as a share of GDP. And why is that? Mainly because of Republican tax cuts on corporations and the wealthy. The big Trump Republican tax cut is already breaking the bank. It'll cost us $1.9 trillion over the next decade. Let me repeat that, $1.9 trillion.
This was 5 days ago, by the way.
And Republicans in Congress
5 years ago.
claimed that their tax cuts for the wealthy and corporations would pay for themselves by boosting economic growth. It's the same trickle-down fairy tale they've been telling for decades. But according to the Congressional Budget Office, they haven't paid for themselves, and the deficit continues to balloon. If there's one area where America spends too much, it's the military. Since taking office, Trump has increased military spending by more than $200 billion a year, straining the federal budget.
Not to say that this federal money can't also be used for environmental purposes too. But that's a whole another issue, which is why I'm like, it's not super related, because he's mostly talking about the federal budget. And we're here talking about the California state budget, so not the biggest. But now we have California Proposition 5, lower the supermajority requirement to 55% for local bond measures to fund housing and public infrastructure amendment. So remember the other one that was saying like, oh, this isn't going to do anything for creating more affordable housing? That's what this is for, right? So now you have this one, right? A yes vote supports lowering the vote threshold from 2/3 supermajority, 66.67% to 55%, not even 51%, 55% for local bond measures to fund housing projects and public infrastructure, right? So this one is a pretty simple one, I think. Basically, what they want is they want to make it easier to ask for money to fund housing and public infrastructure, making it so that instead of needing a 66% majority, you only need 55. Makes the whole thing move forward. It makes perfect sense to me. I think everybody acknowledges that more affordable housing, if anything, whether you conceptualize that as actually building more housing that is now more affordable, or keeping the housing affordable regardless, everybody acknowledges that more affordable housing is what we need to address the housing crisis. So, this does that quite specifically. So basically, what people say... who's the person who opposes? The amendment received endorsements from the California Democratic Party, State Building and Construction Trades Council of California. Construction trades, right? They want to be able to build stuff. AIDS Healthcare Foundation. That sounds familiar to me. I wonder why. And California State Association of Counties. Assembly Cecilia Aguilar Curry, Democrat, the sponsor of the amendment, said ACA 1 will level the playing field and create parity between school districts and cities, counties, and special districts so that all local governments have a variable financing tool to address community needs. AKA, if they need to, they can pull this lever, they can pull up a general majority and ask for funds. It also contains various transparency accountability measures, including an expenditure plan for projects and programs proposed, audits, and monitoring by citizens. All right. The amendment is opposed by the California Association of Realtors, California Chamber of Commerce, California Taxpayer Association, Howard Jarvis Taxpayer Association, and National Federation of Independent Businesses. Dr. Gary Gals, economics professor at Pepperdine University. All right. ACA 1 would sharply lower the Proposition 13's two-thirds voter threshold to 55% for local special taxes to fund infrastructure. So vaguely defined that virtually anything could qualify. It would open the door to massive new tax hikes that to give Sacramento politicians what they want from property taxpayers without giving them their money's worth in return. Bro, you're already making your money's worth. You're living, like, your job is to collect money from people existing. Yeah, you have to upkeep the apartments, but usually the upkeep is more done when the person's not when the place is not even inhabited. When you need to remodel it and make it viable for market. And why do you do that? So that you can put it at a fair market value and make your money back. So what the fuck are you talking about? Needing more money. You're just literally saying, like, I want to be able to make more money. I don't like it. It's like the other one that I read, where they were like, oh, it's going to make it harder to make houses and make money off of it. And it's like, bro, this one on paper would make it legal to build new homes, but it would be illegal, largely speaking, to make money doing so. It's like, okay, get out of here, dude. Get a real fucking job. Anyway, California Proposition 6, remove involuntary servitude as punishment for crime. So we talked about this one, and we're watching this one. So we'll continue the video on basically... So yeah, Koch Foods first argued Ellington wasn't technically an employee. Later said his family should be barred from filing wrongful death because the company paid his funeral expenses. All this stuff is nutty. But
topic leasing and really the thesis if you're
we can
reporting
watch
here.
part of this.
Well, thank you so much for
as
having me.
a reminder of why it is that you should 100% vote yes on this one and no on this one. No on 36, yes on 6. No on 36, yes on 6. All right, so we'll do, actually, before we finish, we'll do a last breakdown once again. So, Proposition 2, yes, right? We want more money for public education. Proposition 32, yes, let's continue the increase of minimum wage. Proposition 33, that's a yes. We do want to repeal the Costa Hawkins Rental Housing Act because we do want to remove limitations on rent control. We want more rent control. It's worded a little weirdly, but what we want is rent control. Rent control, good. Limits how much your rent increases. Good. We want that. Proposition 34 requires healthcare providers to spend 98% of revenue. So this one's the one that specifically targets the AIDS Foundation. This one's a bad. This one's a no. So 2, yes. 32, yes. 33, yes. 34, no. 35 permanently authorizes tax and managed care organizations to fund medical programs. Yes. 36, no. Increases penalties for certain drug crimes, right? So this one's going to just increase the amount of people in prison, all right? We don't want that. That's a no. Proposition 3, that repeals Proposition 8, so that basically repeals the whole idea that marriage is between a man and a woman and makes it so that there are protections and there's a right to marry, all right? So that's a yes. We want that. We want to repeal that, okay? So yes on 3, all right? So 4, issue 10 million bonds to fund state and local parks, okay, right? Environmental protection projects, water infrastructure, energy, yes, all right? So yes on 4. 5, lower the vote threshold from 2/3 to 55%. That's a yes, okay? We want to lower that threshold. We want to make it easier for people to pass to get money for housing and for public infrastructure, right? We want more public infrastructure. You want your roads to be kept up. You want your public transportation to work, to not be a nasty bus that doesn't get cleaned, right? You want it to be clean. You want it to be nice. That's what we want, okay? So Proposition 6, right? Remove involuntary servitude as punishment for a crime of the state constitution. I don't know who the hell would disagree with this. Nutty if you would disagree with this. But yeah, obviously, We want to remove involuntary servitude, so that's a yes on 6. So yes, yes, 2 yes, 32 yes, 33 yes, 34 no, 35 yes, 36 no, 3 yes, 4 yes, 5 yes, and 6 yes. So the only ones that we're saying no to are going to be 34 and 36. Okay, 34 and 36. Those are the ones that we're saying no. Everything else, Gucci. Oh my God. How long did that take me? That was basically 2 hours. That's what I thought. I thought it would take me about 2 hours to go through all the ballots for California. And it did. It did. Well, that's how you do it, man. If you guys have any more questions, send me a DM. Let me know. I'll be posting this on YouTube, so put your comments up. Let me know what you think. Let me know if you disagree with any of my recommendations. Let me know what you think. We can talk about it. You can talk about it, and if you want to talk about it more, come to my Twitch streams. Come on by to the Swilligan Station and have yourself a ride. Yeah.